It's September 14th, 2019, and this is episode 1 of Plane Savers, Down Under. I'd like to invite you to join me on a trip just down the road to explore some of the aviation museums of southeastern Australia. Unfortunately, due to scheduling to meet some events, we won't be able to explore all those museums, and there's some really great ones we'll miss out on. But I hope you get some idea of what's available should you want to explore the aviation museums down in this part of the country or come from overseas. I hope you enjoy the trip with me. We start our trip at Caboolture Airfield, about an hour's drive north of Brisbane. We are involved here as a group of volunteers with the Australian Aviation Heritage Centre Queensland, which was previously known as the Beaufort Restoration Group. This will give you a general view of the hangar. We have a tiger moth, sea dove, and in the foreground there, that's the boom of a Kiowa. And around here is the Beaufort, which we are restoring to airworthy condition. It's a DAP Beaufort, an Australian one. DAP stands for Department of Aircraft Production. We have her under dust covers at the moment because most of the work that's being undertaken is outside the aircraft and the covers are there to protect it. I'll take you on a walk around of the aircraft now so you can see what work's been undertaken and what's been finished. We've come a long way from the early days when she was a wreck back in 1984. A lot of hard work and an awful lot of money, and there's still an awful lot of work to be done. It's a shame that the dust covers are on, as it's rather awkward to get into the aircraft at this stage. This will give you a bit of an idea of what the cockpit looks like and also the forward gunner's position. See, a lot of the wiring's already been done. All the structural work's been done basically, but there's an awful lot of interior work still to be finished. And this is what she looked like back in 1984. As I said previously, most of the work's taking place outside of the aircraft. This is the port wing. The starboard one's already attached, so there's still some work to do on that wing. This port wing has been built from scratch, as you can see. It's all new materials. There's a long way to go on this. It's being reskinned. All the structural work's basically done. It's spending most of the time getting the skin on it, and also then we'll start fitting oil coolers and fuel tanks, things like that. Please excuse the jiggling of the camera. That's me falling over or stepping over the jig that holds this wing in place, that allows us to work on it, rotate it, do anything else we need to do on it without moving the wing around with other equipment. As you can see, the landing lights have already been installed on this wing. I'll take you inside the bomb bay of the Beaufort. This gives an example of how the RAAF used the aircraft a little bit differently. There was a lot of use of the aircraft as a torpedo bomber, in addition to being a bomber in its own right. In New Guinea and in the Southwest Pacific, a lot of the activity was not only bombing land positions, but sinking Japanese shipping. Here's another activity that's taking place outside the aircraft. This timber form is for the outside or the ends of the fuel tanks. There's a lot of work gone into shaping that form, and as you can see, a sheet of aluminium is brought into position, shaped over that form, and you can see the finished end pieces in the background. These are the damaged ones, and you can get an idea what the fuel tanks look like. The N1 on the left, you can just make out the silver one. That's shaped up like these, but hasn't got those end pieces that were on the tape. These are the cupolas that fit onto the turrets. Has twin 303 machine guns. The one here on the right is the spring-loaded door that fits inside the one on the left, so they can close it up around the those machine guns. The masking here is to protect the perspex from scratching. They will be taken off soon and masked up properly for repainting. This will give you an idea what the completed turret looks like. It's been put together to test fit all the pieces, and they have now been taken apart, getting masked up, ready for repainting. This particular turret won't be going into the aircraft, it's going down as a display item at a shrine of remembrance interstate. But it'll give you an idea what the workings are, and you'll see how it's all ready to go for painting. The two poles you see on either side support the cupolas, and the top carriage is the gun carriage for the twin 303 machine guns with the sighting already masked up. Here you see one of the dummy 303s sitting on top of the two cartridge cases to feed in the live cartridge. The big cartridge case at the back is to take the spent cartridges. Then you have the seat, and the two solid bits of metal are the armour plate to protect the gunner's legs. This is the turret that will actually go into the airworthy aircraft. You can see the difference between the two turrets. We have a long way to go on this one. There will be a lot of parts have to be made because we've had to scrounge parts for the other one, so we'll have to do them for this one. And this one has to work all the hydraulics, electrics, because it's going into an airworthy aircraft. We also have other aircraft in the hangar that we work on when we have the opportunity. We did have 5 of these Kiowas. 2 have gone to Vietnam Veterans Memorials, one in Victoria, and one the other last week went to Bribie Island. But this one's staying here. The other 2 one's been sold already and another one's being negotiated. You can see they've got a long way to go, but we're gradually getting it all together. This is the electronics bay on the Kiowa. There's a lot of work still to do on this one, but we've started on it. You'll also see a little motif that says 817. That's a Royal Australian Navy little tag. The aircraft obviously visited a Navy ship. This is a Chrisley Super Ace. Some work's been done on the aircraft, but it's been put aside until we get proper time to work on it. This is our very nicely presented de Havilland Tiger Moth. It's a beautiful looking aircraft and lovely scheme, and credit to the owner who looked after this immaculately. We also have a de Havilland Sea Dove in the background there. That's a genuine Admiral's barge. Unfortunately, because of people away and all this thing, it's locked up and I can't get into it to show you, but you can imagine that they like their creature comforts. We also have our ex-RAAF DHC for Caribou on display. We bring that out at air shows and air spectaculars, which people love to go through it and have a look at the cockpit. This is a de Havilland Australia Drover. There wasn't many built, I think about 20 of them. Three engines with three gypsy engines. This one is a designated aerial doctor one for the Flying Doctor Service. There's not many of those around. This one is still fitted out as a Flying Doctor. It's owned by Ron and Stuart Lee. Ron is one of the founding members of the Australian Warbirds movement. Another restoration taking place on the airfield. This one is by Pacific Dakota Restorations of a C-47. There's a number of restorations of different aircraft taking place here. Here we have a beautifully presented Tiger Moth getting ready for a joy flight. They're spinning the prop. Had a little bit of effort getting it started, but within about 10 minutes of me finishing, she was off and going. Some examples of some of the aircraft that are on the airfield, and this one's a Beech 18 with a tricycle undercarriage, still with American registration. This other Beech 18 has been restored by Complete Aircraft Care. It's been a long time job, but it's a beautiful restoration. Complete Aircraft Care also looked after the Mustang that we see here. Charlie India only had its first test flight about a week ago, and those two radials sounded magnificent. This is a 3/4 scale Spitfire replica. The ring handle and some of the instruments are genuine Spitfire parts, and this is a beautifully presented aircraft. I actually meant to say ring grip was not a ring handle. Here we have a CAC Wirraway and a North American Trojan. There are two museums on the airfield. One is the Australian Vintage Aviation Society, which looks at the first years of aviation up to about the 1930s. You can see the aircraft they have here. There's a multitude of aircraft, and they are all flown, airworthy, and the museum has got a lot of prospects they're looking at being able to build aircraft later on down the track. Just for Mikey, here's a DR1 triplane that'll get him going and give him an idea what's out there. The other museum is the Caboolture Warplane Museum, which has been operating for quite a few years and displays exactly what it says. I hope you'll excuse the quality of this presentation. I'll admit to being a rank amateur at this sort of thing, but hopefully it'll improve. I hope you enjoy some of our wanderings from the land down under. Until next time.